Okay, square root was intentionally simple here. Let's try now giving a precondition for sort. Okay, what do you think are the required conditions in order for sort to execute?
I guess depending on how you might want to write your function, we should say something about having an empty, we need a non-empty set of, or vector of integers. I guess you could have an empty set of integers, or an empty vector, I'm sorry, of integers, but you wouldn't get anything meaningful back. So it seems to kind of fall in the same category with the negative number in our square root function, maybe. Does it matter?
Okay, so Jared mentioned a couple things here. One is he did say that it was important in our particular case to deal with integers. And what we're going to do there is we're going to say as far as our preconditions and postconditions are concerned, we're not going to be concerned with the data types of the input arguments and the output results. We're going to assume that the signature took care of that, and ultimately when the program is turned into code, the type checker on the compiler is going to do that kind of checking. Okay, so we're not going to include in the precondition any statements about the types of things. Okay, and then the second thing that Jared mentioned was what to do about, well, there was an uncertainty about what to do in the case of an empty vector. Mm-hmm. Okay, and he said if you give in an empty vector, you wouldn't get any meaningful results back. But I would come back and say, well, isn't the sort of an empty vector an empty vector?
It is.
Okay, so it's a meaningful result there. Now, we could have a precondition that said the length is greater than or equal to 1, and we have a perfectly good sort routine there. But we can stretch it, make it a little bit more general by saying that the sort of an empty vector is an empty vector. Okay? And of course, all of us are computer scientists, and as such, we like to have general solutions that work in as many cases as we can deal with. So in this case, we're going to go with the fact we're going to specify something that will work on an empty vector and produce an empty result. So when you factor all those things in, what's the precondition of sort?
Okay, so x must be a vector, and
but that the compiler is going to take care of. We're not worried about that.
Right. Just okay.
Okay. What are the conditions on x that must hold?
I don't know if there are any.
That's right. And if we are not concerned about the type checking parts of things, then any input vector of integers sort should be able to deal with. So in this case, there is no precondition, or we could also say the precondition is true. That is, the precondition always holds.